Well, thank you, everybody. It's good to join you for today's press conference. It is my first as a United States Senator representing the great state of Georgia. And that significance alone is not lost on me. A child who grew up in public housing in coastal Georgia now has the honor of representing, for me, the greatest state in the Union, as only the 11th black senator in the history of our country. It is an honor and a duty that I take very seriously, particularly in this defining moment in our country. With my right hand in the air and my other hand on the Bible, I took an oath just a few days ago to defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and I intend to do just that. And so this week, as the Senate takes up this impeachment trial, please know that I will sit as an impartial juror. I will listen to the evidence, and then I will render a decision. But even as we focus appropriately on that issue, and amid these historic and serious proceedings, make no mistake that my top priorities are getting the vaccines distributed so we can get this virus under control, so that we can address the health of our citizens and the health of our economy, and securing COVID-19 relief for all of our citizens in Georgia and all across the country. Our state's hardworking families stand to lose jobs. They've already lost jobs. They stand to lose housing, the ability to put food on the table, and so much more if Congress does not act boldly and urgently. And that's why I joined my colleagues in moving legislation forward to get the $1.9 trillion in federal aid out of the door, because we've got to get control over this virus. We have not a moment to waste. It literally is a matter of life and death. And so from the moment I was sworn in, I've been focused on delivering solutions to the people of Georgia in this relief package to address the health and the economic challenges of this pandemic in every corner of our state. Solutions like providing direct payments and expanding federal investments like the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, to get Georgians to $2,000 that they were promised to help them get through these very tough times. Additionally, we're very focused on rental and mortgage assistance to help Georgians keep a roof over their heads. We know that housing provides the stability necessary for so many other things to work. The education of our children, maintaining one's health care, mental health, all of those things are connected to housing. We're focused on putting billions of dollars of federal funds in Medicaid expansion. We've got to do the work to move Georgia closer to ensuring that the roughly 500,000 Georgians who are currently out of coverage can receive coverage. As you know, I've been focused on Medicaid expansion now for years. I came to this very Capitol in 2017, and one of the things that I was focused on then was Medicaid expansion. I got arrested standing up for Medicaid expansion in the Capitol. And now I've introduced legislation, the same act, that will help make sure that Georgians get the federal funds we need to get these people insured. And I'm working to get this funding in the relief package. We've got to make sure that we take care of the Georgians who are in the Medicaid gap. That is work that needs to happen at the state level. But as a United States Senator, it is something that I can certainly help facilitate. And I intend to do that through the same act. Additionally, in this same package, we're pushing for billions of dollars in K through 12 funding to make sure our schools are safe for students, for teachers, and staff. We've got in this package significant investments also in our historically black colleges and universities to ensure that all of our institutions are preparing the next generation of underserved students for the future. We're also pushing in this package major investments in the Paycheck Protection Program to make sure small businesses are getting the assistance that they need to keep their doors open. Small businesses, in many ways, are the engine of our economy. They keep our families safe, keep them employed, housed, fed. And so we've got to make sure that we protect our small businesses. And of course, we've got to have billions of dollars in investments to get vaccine distribution in Georgia on track, which we have to do to move beyond this pandemic, as well as dedicated funding to address the spread of COVID-19 in our nursing homes. I'm very engaged in that work also. I've also been fighting for solutions that take into account long-standing challenges some communities, especially in our rural areas, have faced to get ahead. During the course of the campaign, I met with black farmers and other farmers. I especially remember a meeting with the Carr brothers down in Porter, Georgia. They have farmed for generations and they have been struggling just to get by. They, like so many other farmers of color around Georgia, have been slammed for years. People who have faced historic discrimination that's kept them from getting ahead and who have had an even tougher time making it during the pandemic. These are some of the people who have so frequently been forgotten by our federal government. And that's why I was proud to introduce new legislation just yesterday, the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act, to provide $5 billion in direct payments and investments to these farmers to help them respond to this pandemic and not only survive, but thrive. I'm working hard to get this legislation into the relief package because black farmers and farmers of color have waited long enough for the help that they're due from the federal government. I'm excited to work on these and other important issues that impact Georgians through my work on various Senate committees. I'm excited about the work on these committees. They give me jurisdiction to affect change in all of the areas that I've listed. I'm on the Agriculture Committee, Commerce, Banking, the Joint Economic Committee, and the Special Committee on Aging. In my committees and in all of my work in the Senate, please know that I will be thinking about Georgia every single day. Georgia is on my mind and the focus of my work. Thank you so very much. I look forward to the important work that we will do in the days ahead.
Thank you, Senator Warnock.
With that, I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We now have some time for questions. The first question will be for Chuck Williams at WRBL. Chuck, I've requested to unmute you. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Senator Warnock, thanks for taking the question. I want to ask you, do you think that the elections in Georgia on January the 5th, your election and Senator Ossoff's election, played any role in what happened in the U.S. Capitol the next day?
Well, thank you so much, Chuck, for the question. Listen, I think that there has been a kind of ugly politics of division and conspiracy theories that have been going on over the last few years. And unfortunately, we have had people in power who haven't minded stoking the fears and the fires of xenophobia and bigotry and conspiracy. And I think all of those things together over several years, and then certainly urged and encouraged by those in high office, created a tragic situation on January 5th. As you remember, earlier in that morning, I was celebrating my victory as the first black senator from Georgia. But by the afternoon, we saw the emergence of the ugly side of our history as folk took over the United States Capitol. 5 people have lost their lives, and it is a situation that requires us to take seriously the work of accountability and reconciliation. And so I intend to stay focused on that.
Next question is from Archith with Nexstar. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Warnock. We appreciate your time. My question to you is, Georgia's population is about 11 million. We're getting about 146,000 doses a week. So just based on that math, the vaccination is going to go on for a long time. Many people are still not getting it. What are you trying to do to help get more vaccines into people's arms in Georgia, like teachers and other groups? Because many say the rollout simply has not been effective.
Well, I think we've been dealing with that now for almost a year. What we're seeing in the challenges with getting this vaccine distributed, I think, is the indispensable role and power of the federal government to make sure that we have a coordinated response, a robust response to a once-in-a-century pandemic. We have not seen that for a year. And now with this new administration, its commitment to passing this $1.9 trillion relief package, which includes vaccine distribution, we have a shot. And I just hope that even with the reconciliation, that the my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, rather than slowing this down, will help to expedite this work, and that they will recognize that we need a robust response to a deadly virus. Our teachers need it, our small businesses need it, God knows our seniors and our nursing homes need it. And that's why I'm pushing so hard to get this package passed as soon as possible.
We have time for
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We have time for a couple more questions. I'm going to go over to Robin Kemp at the Clayton Crescent.
Thank you. Hi, Senator Reverend Warnock. What relief, if any, extends to the descendants of sharecroppers or farmers who may have bought homes from white farm owners back in the day, post-war, and who are still living in these communities that are now surrounded by suburban and, like light industrial development? And for example, in the city of Forest Park in Clayton County, there is a Black enclave called Rosetown, and a lot of the descendants still own property and or live there. Would any of those folks be eligible for any of the farming subsidy money?
The answer is yes. I mean, we've got a couple of bills, one that I'm the lead sponsor on, and then there's another being led by my colleague, Cory Booker, that seek to address these historic injustices. It is a generational problem that is certainly steeped in our nation's long history of racial injustice. But I even as we push through this legislation, I would want to continue conversations with folks like the folks in Forest Park, Georgia, so that we make sure that they're covered and we represent them in every possible way. But the legislation between this bill and one other bill being produced, being pushed by Senator Booker, I think that we will provide aid to those folks as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this will be our final question, going over to Patricia Murphy at the AJC. Go ahead, Patricia.
Hi, good morning, Senator. What have you learned or what have you been made aware of about racism at USDA and in farming that you would like to address as a member of the Ag Committee? You're in a really unique position now. What would you like to do from that perch?
We know that historically the USDA has not been responsive or as responsive as it should to black farmers, to farmers of color, that these are people who have worked hard for generations, and they have been in many ways locked outside of the American dream. So I had an honest and good conversation with Secretary Vilsack just a few days ago. And he and I pledged to stay in dialogue. I spent a lot of time during the campaign in rural Georgia and know that we will be vigilant and we will be focused on making sure that farmers of color get their fair share of the support that comes from the USDA. So often that has not happened. And know that we're committed to that, and that's an issue that I've already taken up with the new secretary.